Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. I'm Derek Mazzoni, your host. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time. I hope you're well, and I hope you are enjoying the programs that we've been creating for you. I have a special one today, an artist that I've been following for a little bit. His name is Narayan Sijan. He is a composer, a songwriter who works in a space combining different musical traditions and wrapping them in a beautiful envelope of electronics and intention, musical intention, to create bridges, I would say. The band is called Karavan, Sarai. And as I said, it's a bridge fusing ancient global melodies from Arabia to India and original compositions with modern electronics. The group's latest album is The Moon Within Reach, and it exudes a nice mystical energy. It's a great vibe. I've been listening to it quite a bit. And we're going to be talking to songwriter Narayan Sijan. And he found his inspiration for the album, especially the opening suite, in the silence and sound of an ancient Sarai in today's Egypt. Now, a Sarai is a place along the Karavan, Silk Road routes where mystics, merchants, musicians, all types of people would gather for the night, eat some food, share stories, and that's in many ways how culture and music especially disseminated from the East and moved into the West. It is a mystical, magical place, and I'm stoked that he took that energy and created this music. So we're going to be chatting with Narayan, and we're going to hear about life, love, the hell's going on in the world right now, musical inspirations, and where he and the band would like this to go. A quick note also, his producer on this is my dear friend Carmen Rizzo, who I've had on Sama in the past, and also had his band, one of his bands, Niaz, on a little while ago. So there's a bit of a thread there that I like as I've been producing and creating Sama during COVID, and able to share you the evolution and the manifestations of these stories. So right now on Sama, Narayan Sijan. We're going to be also seeing a couple of videos and some music of this. And, you know, I'm going to change my pace right now. I'm going to start with a video so you can get a chance to see the artist's work, and then you have a sense of what we're going to be talking about. I think it makes sense. So this is The Journey Part 2, Karavan Sarai on Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. Hope you like it. Narayan, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
It's great being here.
How's life? Catch me up.
Woo! Life is great. I feel the power of the pause happen in the world, and that was a great moment because I was traveling and touring in the world. I had a new album back a few years ago, 2018 or 2020 was the third album, and so I was touring a lot around the world and a lot of shows, and I was based out of Egypt for a few years, and that was one configuration of my band was there, and we toured, and then I also toured solo with different musicians and dancers, and so when that power of that pause came, it was a moment to take a deep breath, and for me, I felt I needed that. I needed that moment to reevaluate life. And so it was a special time. And so from that moment, I actually was stuck in Thailand. I was on tour in New Zealand, Australia, headed to Thailand as just a few day holiday, I guess, break before I was on going to North America on a tour. And I basically got into Thailand. Within 3 hours, the borders shut. They didn't let anyone in or out. And the world came to that pause.
A screeching halt.
And so I was stuck on an island in Thailand eating coconuts and green curries. It was really horrible.
That's not a bad life. That's not a bad life. It seems that you've kind of figured it out, Narayan, and how to do this particular time and space that we get in this dimension. I sound like such a poser, but I'll roll with it. But it is. It's like, you're traveling. You found a way to actually spend time there, so you're not a tourist, and you're actually creating music with fellow human beings in those places, which forces you to interact in a way that most people don't. As a creative collaborator, as a participant, as a somebody making an offering and receiving something at the same time. And I find that's really the best way to travel because it stays with you. And you're creating music out of these experiences. I read your bio. You've been traveling. I love the fact that you kind of broke it down into like, dude, it's $100. That's all that I could work with. And I was able to actually make that happen. So that's wonderful. In many ways, that's like a dream come true. But most people don't have the courage to make that work. So I want you to tell me a little bit like where you got the courage to do it. But first off, we just saw a video, The Journey Part 2. Tell me about the song. Tell me about the video we just saw.
Well, Part 2, the whole song, The Journey, is a song off the first album, Woven Landscapes. And the Part 2 it's a more of a celebrative, imagine yourself in that desert, the Thar Desert, it was inspired by the Rajasthani part of India, of the Thar Desert, and then it was a section of a song, melody from Kashmir, India. So those two elements, and then I did some original compositions, and then the song evolved, and that's kind of how my music is that I'll have a certain foundation or idea, and then it just builds and builds. And so then later on, I was playing the song somewhere with a friend from the Middle East, and we're playing, and some Moroccan man comes in. He's like, "Oh, I know this song." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "It's kind of, original, kind of traditional." And he starts singing this Moroccan song, and that's the words that were put into this Part 2 recently, like within the last year or so. And so now there's a Moroccan song within the Rajasthani, within the original, within the Kashmiri, and then you have, Carmen Rizzo's modern electronica, because I'm playing oud and singing. So yeah,
we call it pixie dust.
Exactly. He's the magician that, glues it all together and gives it birth. It's alchemy. It's kind of a sacred alchemy. Yeah. And that's what I feel we're doing.
No, I'm a fan.
And then we have a dancer, and that song was Shireen Shamsdiba, and she was dancing. She's a amazing Persian dancer, and so and that's
there it is.
That was it. That was
perfect.
That was,
Thank you. So let's go back to my initial question. Where'd you get the kahunas to live your life, like the way you're living it?
I had no choice. The only other way was I wouldn't have been completely happy, and I was following my heart, and a lot of that was taught through my parents. They both are famous artists, and they supported me to always follow my dreams, and I kind of took it to a higher level than they ever imagined. And so in the 90s, it was tough on them because I dropped out of school. I was in India before I was 21, and living there before the internet, before cell phones, and barely any contact for...
You could have been living or dead. They wouldn't know.
Yeah, and I remember 8-9 months went by and they had no idea, and I was deep in the Himalayas or some gypsies or some all the experiences of India, and so it was I think it was a internal drive, also just wanting to explore the beauty of the world, the spirituality of the world. I was very interested in the mysticism. Growing up in America, sometimes, at least in those 70s and 80s, it was still coming about, the mystical side of America that's more popular now. But so I was on a quest, and that turned into a musical quest, because music was then my meditation. It was how I communicated with the spirit, and then communicated with the locals, and that was the most beautiful thing, because I grew up as an artist, and then it changed to music, and that was the bridge to talk with the people without words, because I didn't always speak the language. So musically, we could speak, and they would accept me. I would, So it was a beautiful experience.
Were your parents musicians? Were there other musicians around you that kind of taught you the way, or was this more of like a self-taught thing?
Some of the families were. My parents were famous visual sculpture and visual artists. I did grow up in, like, some of my heritage. My main heritage was Balkan, and so I did get influenced by going to these Balkan days, and going to the church and the school. Yep. And so just hearing those music beats, even, they were strange when I was young, but they got in there.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff. It's a particular language, and it does work. You can see where it originated, Rajasthan especially, and continued to evolve, and now you have these threads. I don't want to get all ethnomusicological about it, talk about where this begins and this, but it works. It has a particular kind of sound that automatically takes you there. It's not like this, oh, what is this? It's like, oh, I get this. This is how I'm to feel and to move and to grow. But you just said you lived in Egypt. You continued to you didn't come back for a while. And I want to ask you more questions about that. But let's go to the next song. This is the second video you gave us. This is Kiss Her Eyes. And tell me about this before we play it.
Kiss Her Eyes was inspired mostly by Fayrouz, a famous Lebanese singer. It's one of her songs and her sons that wrote it, and so I just took that song and like how I explained before, it got developed, and then sometimes when I work with Carmen, he gives me the songs, and then I start playing them live, and then I start changing them, and I actually then become the producer in a way that I add things and subtract things, and it grows and develops. And then I worked with another producer that was basically my hands and mind to manipulate the song further.
Like an engineer?
Exactly.
Okay.
So then I developed the song even more. So that's where it came from. But it was a very Middle Eastern metaphor for love on the physical plane, the lover and the beloved. Love, lover,
Perfect.
Beloved. So.
And originally, it's a Fayrouz song.
Yes.
Ah, beautiful. I've been playing her a lot. I just got a whole bunch of vinyl of hers. Beautiful. Okay, Kiss Her Eyes, right now on Sama, South Circuit Music and Art.
عيني انت يلي بتفهماني وسلم ليالي وسلم ليالي وقلوبيني ببوس عيني بوس عيني وقلوبيني ببوس عيني انت يلي بتفهماني سلم ليالي سلم ليالي
Hey, everybody. That was Karavan Sarai. I'm here with Narayan Sijan. I still remembered it. Awesome. Kiss Her Eyes, originally penned by, not originally sung by Farouj. And we're talking about life and journeys and new music and releasing music and travel and being in different parts of the world. So, Narayan, why Cairo? Why at that particular time? Because it was in the middle of, convulsive revolutions. So obviously it might have made the music scene and the cultural scene very interesting, as often does. But what made you want to spend time in Cairo?
Well, the first time I went to Cairo was even more of an interesting time because it was a month after the 9/11 attacks. I actually had a plane leaving New York around just those days, and then so it was obviously delayed. So I couldn't leave New York for another month, and the second the flights were available, I was out of there. So I went to Egypt originally because it's what attracted me musically. I love it's a Caravan Sarai is one of those. The inspiration of my band is it's hubs where cultures and people would come, and so a Sarai is like a hotel or a hub or a palace along those caravan. So that's exactly what Cairo is, from the pharaonic ancient times. So they have all these very mystical ancient times to now it's the center of Africa and the Middle East. Everyone comes to Cairo to share their arts, or it's a very strong artistic hub. So I went there to learn oud and vocals and breathe, eat, be part of that culture. So yeah, I found myself there the first time 2001. I guess that was 2001.
Okay. And you found community pretty quickly? You found that you could be there?
Yeah, I just got a one-way bus ride. I came from Israel, Palestine, Israel, and then through Sinai, and I arrived in Cairo, and I purposely didn't have any guidebook or anything. I just arrived, and the first night, because that way you talk to people, and that was the special thing about those days too is that you couldn't look everything up on the internet. At least it was still new, and I didn't have a computer, and it was very rare to have that in Cairo at those days. So you talk to people like, hey, do you know where the musicians, where the artists, where the poets hang out? Where do they play chess? Where do they smoke shisha and drink tea? So that night, within that night, I was hanging out with all the greatest like musicians and like playing music, and found out a place to live. And so I just let the universe guide me. And most of the times that magic would.
Yeah. I mean, I travel too. I understand. Most of the time it's great. Sometimes it's like, but that's even part of the mystical journey. It's like,
yeah. Sometimes you just have to have patience, and like if you have time, then it'll unfold because you'll start connecting.
Yep.
But if you're on a time line schedule, then you get a little more pressure, and that's.
Yeah. But if you're there and you're committed, which is nice, which goes me back to my initial point, you figured out how to do life well during this particular dimension, because it seems like you're not trying to hit a deadline per se. But speaking of deadlines, the record is the Moon Within Reach. Why the name?
The Moon's Within Reach. I feel that with life, if we do not if we don't expect something to happen, or, oh, I did this, now I expect, or today I expect something to happen, and you just accept. So don't expect, but accept. Accept whatever comes to you, and you can have willpower, and you can, give it your best, but just accept it. Then the moon's within reach. Then your greatest dreams, the stars are within reach. The moon's within reach.
Perfect. I like that. That works. Yeah. It's all about the expectation. The expectations always screw you up. And if you're actually open to the things that are there, you'll find what you need. It's not like a Rolling Stone song, but it is. It's like, if you're open to it, you might find something there. I mean, even the fact that I'm doing all of these recordings with artists from all over the world, I would not have been doing this if it was not pandemic, because we had a whole other system. So I would not have learned all the things that I've learned right now and been able to reach people and share this story and share the healing power of music from different parts of the world. And so I want to talk to you about this before we go to Longing in the Stars. I find that the music that you're focusing on, the instrumentation that you're focusing on, whether it's the oud or the zaz, the type of dancers that you have, even the type of electronics that you're incorporating with Carmen, there's an intention there, and that intention is to open up hearts. It's just like, how do you open this up in a way that people's expectations are tossed aside, and they're actually able to receive that, not so much a message, but that kind of intention where it's like, this is one humanity, we're living in a world together, we're here in this one dimension, and we have an opportunity to just learn from each other and grow as humans and connect instead of like disconnect. And I find that music is, to me, the most powerful tool that we have as human beings to connect like that, where there's something in and the way an instrument is played, or even like the way, I mean, as a DJ, you see this when you just put something together and the whole floor just feeling it. You're connecting, you're creating something. And no other art form that I know of has that kind of power. So I'm always intrigued by artists that are double down in that. Like, there's a particular period where you're singing, you want to get laid, you want to make money, etc. I mean, we all still want to do that, but you grow as a person, you grow as a human, and so the music has to change. It's like you go to I had been gone a long time, but you see like a band you were into in your youth, and they're still playing the same songs, and you're like, wow, what's happened in your life? I get it, you make money, but it feels like as artists, And as artisans who actually transform this, it's a really powerful tool that I didn't know until, just a few years ago, how powerful it could be, until I saw certain musicians that just created a transcendent experience. And you decided to spend your time in, it's interesting also in the name of the band, but also you spent your time in these places where that is the music. It's improvised. You're improvising because you're feeling something, and so it's present there. And also, you decided to call your band Karavan Sarai, that's where that stuff happened, because artists would come from different parts of the world, and other musicians would get their minds blown. It's like, what is this instrument? How did you make that kind of thing happen? So I just gave you a bit of a lecture, but I had to tell you why I'm doing Sama. But I would love to get your take on that, because if I'm listening to your music, it feels like that's the intention you're trying to make. You wouldn't be doing this. And I've talked to other artists that also have been trying to create that kind of zone, intention, energy, luminous light, whatever mindfulness app you might be working with right now that's trying to guide you through this. But it feels like this music and artist and this particular thing feels like it's a nice way to get there faster. Like, remember the game of life? Did you play that?
Yeah.
And you would get, and it would be like, almost like a chutes and ladders, and suddenly you're like, boom, you're closer to getting close to being there. How do you dabble in that space?
Wow, that's a huge question.
I know, man. But I mean, it's like, I'm listening to your music, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, he's doing it, so I got to ask him.
Well, it's a mystical journey. It's a mystical healing journey, and music, it's a spirituality for a lot of, if you go from, these different cultures, from folkloric to, like a religious or metaphysical, Sufi or Bhajan or that whole Silk Road region. That was a way they prayed. That was the way they reached to God or goddess. That's how it's basically learning to be that empty reed, the empty bamboo, however you want to say that, the empty reed that when the wind blows through it, when the wind blows through us, that spirit, we're connected and we have our fullest potential as humans, and so letting that spirit flow through us at all times, not trying to hold on to what, that's mine, or I made that. It's like, well, the holes are in me and I played the song, but the spirit is really what we try to connect to as these kind of musicians, these kind of artists, and you can take it to a deeper level, sound healing, like in Egypt and Persian Empire, the Indians, they all had very detailed systems of the season, the time, that you'd play these songs, and then actual spaces that were like sound healing hospitals, actually. And so people would go there to get well. And so that's what we're doing as humans, but through music, that vibration is the universal creation story. It really is. It's like you have in Hinduism and Islam, you have in all these pre-religious. There is the sound in the Bible. The first there was the sound. So that
Benedictine
vibration,
monks, Christians,
that vibration is before I even speak a word. And I see you see me, it's that feeling, that vibration. That's that musical wave that we give off. And so music is just an expression of that. And so it's a beautiful way to tune every day. As a musician or as a human, we have to tune ourselves so we create a more harmonious existence. And then we can attract from that universe our wildest dreams, and then the moon's within reach.
Perfect, dude. That's it. Boom. I want you to credit the artists. Please credit the dancers we had on, and also who are some of the other artists that are on the record.
Yeah, so the dancers, the journey was Shirin Shams Diba. On Kiss Her Eyes was Sonia Ochoa, and the other musicians, the woman singer that you saw in the videos, and she was a guest musician on one of the new songs of the new album. And the new album was a little bit more on the ambient, expanded songs versus the other albums, which were a little more tighter. So I kind of wanted that more chill soundscape. The woman singer was Tabea. And then there was obviously Carmen Rizzo on the pads and electronics and all the things he does exactly, bass and then Hamid, which people know from Opium Moon. He did a few tracks for me that I cut him up. He was on Santor, and I just cut him up and we did a song. Yeah, you heard that one. And then one other song, a boat instrument, is Gary Haggerty. He was with Stella Mara and great musician from the Bay Area.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're not touring right now. Well, you might be touring. I don't know.
I do random shows, but it's a tricky time, of course.
Okay.
There is talk of doing more shows in the Middle East. We'll see when that is. The next Europe and then
You'd be perfect for an ecstatic dance set, and that thing is sprouted all over the place.
It has. That's a great reminder of tapping into that.
And they spend coin. They want to have like a full effect with that. So think on that, especially on the West Coast. It's like there are people. They're a community. People have spent this time staring at screens, but they have also tried to create a community and to build around that. I'm shocked at how many of my friends are doing 80s sets on Twitch right now. It's just straight up DJ with videos. It's like, this is a thing? It's like, yeah, it's a thing. It's like, all right. So looking at artists such as yourself is like, you can actually put this out and share this. There are people out there that will be looking quite eagerly, receiving some of the things that you would be presenting. When you were in Cairo, I want to ask you a quick question, because I've been following, and when I started this, I started looking into healing musical traditions throughout the world, and obviously you're going to find yourself in Gnawa in Morocco, Zikir, and other the whirling dervishes and other Sufi traditions. But in Egypt, there's the Zar tradition. And did you spend any time in Cairo with those musicians like Mahazer and others that were specifically looking at like healing rituals and trance rituals within there? Because I found that to be an intriguing space as people are dealing with COVID neurosis and how we're dealing with this. Did you spend time there?
Yes, there are actually a lot of friends of mine are I'm very close with them. I spent a lot of these hubs of this kind of music. From they have the whirling dervishes, the tonur dancers, and then the zars, and I was very close to and involved, being part of their music, learning from them, learning about their drum beats, their songs, their words, being part of their rituals. And it's if you go into it's a little bit of a taboo thing. Unfortunately, Sufism is that kind of rebellious aspect of mysticism and the traditional religions of the world. No matter what, they don't always like that. It kind of goes against their system. So it's actually a little bit hush-hush in Egypt. And you can only share it publicly so much before you can get in trouble, actually. So it's a lot of it's underground. I was so influenced by the trance, the movement of because of the experience. And so I would sit with them and learn and be like,
Okay.
what was that drum beat, or what was the thought, or, really dive deep in with them. And so, and then one of my musicians, he, on my previous album, he is a Argul player, Amin Shaheen, and he's a Gajar, gypsy, and his parents, he is the same family of the movie La Chaudrome, and that whole culture of this kind of spiritual music too, and so he was very involved with that, and I toured. He was in my band, and we toured a lot, did a lot of shows in Egypt, and I just talked to him like 2 days ago. Like, he called me up, so we talk still. He really wants me to come back, and I have some good ideas.
Or bring them here.
Well, that was when he was saying, he says talk to. It was one thing that was underway before the COVID thing hit, but I would love to bring them here, and the magic and the beauty that they have, it's very rare. He is special because he's the only last remaining professional master Argul player, which this instrument is the double reeded flute that it's coming from the second dynasty of the Pharaonic times. It's over 5,000 years old, and it's dying. It's like a lot of these instruments. They're a dying breed. The musicians are a dying breed, and so he's kept it alive. And he's, so I'd bring it to the States. I would love that.
This is perfect. Narayan, thank you so much. This is awesome. Please bring these artists in, because as I've been doing this, I find that there's a population that could really use that, and it's such a beautiful push against xenophobia, and I guess just ignorance. And there's something about this music and these cultures that really does open up people's hearts. And so I call upon any artist that has spent time there and has now taken on the charter of playing and presenting this music. We've got to find ways to bring artists in here, share this, and close these gaps that we have worldwide. I'm going to leave now. Let's end this with "Longing in the Stars." Thank you so much for the time. And once again, the new record is Moon. The Moon's Within Reach, and you can find it at Bandcamp. Obviously, we'll put links to all of this out there, and we'll also let people know when Karavan Sarai comes to your town. Be well. Peace. Ryan.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
Derek.
And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Sama, Sales Circuit Music and Art. Peace.